Welcome back, Teh Tarik Hour. As always, it's your two boys,
Ah Kit.
Azreen. We are back again for another episode of Weird Talk. Not really weird talk lah. Just two guys, two Malaysian guys, sharing our opinions and discussion there lah.
We are recap our last episode.
The which one
To recap the last episode.
The last episode. The boycott, yes,
brand.
McDonald's boycott, Starbucks boycott.
But it was very thank you for you guys for the comments. But any comments, I mean in the YouTubes, I think we are accept even how
Again, we encourage people to comment lah.
Yes.
The most important, you all comment for us.
But maybe some people is different of the view of point on this one.
Yes, there will be. I mean, people will disagree, right?
Yes.
But at the end of the day, it's good to have discussion, especially for us. We don't know many things, right? We are both idiots in that sense.
Yeah. But today we are also will create another controversial.
I wouldn't say controversial. It actually is a good way to explain our idiotness, right? Because because what will affect your intelligence? Education, right? Education determines how smart you are, right? And I think education is a very sensitive topic, especially for Malaysians.
But because for my generations is usually there is standards from primary school to secondary school, and then find a college and study what you like, and then maybe I'm the art student, then becomes I'm studying art. This is what my experience in Malaysia.
Is that what you want to? Let's start with the foundational idea of what are we going to talk about. Really, we honestly, this is something that I feel like it's a long time discussion or debate between Malaysian education and Singapore education.
Yes. This is what we want to actually. This topic we are compare these two country, but since it's after British colonial, between Singapore and Malaysia, after 65 years, what's the changing between these two countries? And because the education system make the difference from Malaysia and Singapore, this is what we want to bring up the topic and then have a discussion.
Now, some people might say, why between these two countries? Why not compare Malaysia to, I don't know, Cambodia or Indonesia or Vietnam or Philippines, like that?
But I believe this is my ideas. Malaysia and Singapore is a brother and sister. You think Malaysia is like, you see, the Malaysia things, Malaysia and Singapore is very similar. The culture, the people.
I mean, like the closest that we can say say one-to-one comparison lah.
Just
about lah.
Like you compare with your brothers like that. This kind of thing lah.
Or 1 to 3.5 comparison.
Because you compare with Indonesia, maybe Indonesia is your sepupu.
Or cousin there lah. I mean, I feel like Indonesia is still close enough, but still separate enough that it can.
Yeah, it's a cousin.
We still can consider there's a differentiation there lah. Especially in terms of like culture and then the racial mix up or how diverse the people there lah. Whereas Malaysia and Singapore, we are very close, but the approach toward education is quite different, right? Considering
is after after Singapore get independence and separate with Malaysia, the education system will be changed both country.
Okay, let's start first, because I think like you already developed your four point debate topic. you come very prepared for this one. I say.
No, if let's say for comparisons, there's it's just a 4 point we do the comparison with these two countries the educations. So based on this 4 point, we do the comparisons and do the discussions.
Let's before we jump that actually let's talk personally how we grew up in the education system. So for you, Ah Kit, like just give a background of like how did you experience Malaysian education system, or did you even experience it at all? Like, did you experience the entirety of Malaysian education system?
For me, it's very I mean, the ordinary Malaysian guys is went to Kebangsaan school,
Which is national school lah.
national school, to secondary. After secondary, after SPM, O levels, then I choose a college to major what I like to do, what I like to.
Now, is your college, was it a private or public?
It's a private college.
Private college,
The
but
time we call college lah.
but it's like still considered like Malaysian curriculum college lah, right?
Malaysia curriculum college. Consider is a Malaysia curriculum.
Like you wouldn't say like it's like international level of college, like I don't know.
Because I'm studying in art, so it's very
Hard, very
hard to compare.
not really the normal choice, right?
Yeah, it's because
Most Malaysian wouldn't go for art, right?
because arts, right? Is I don't know lah. Because the previous our previous we more and look at your portfolio. No matter which college or which university you're from, but in the end we still look at your portfolio. You're looking for the second job. This is the difference. Maybe it's the art director and between the the copywriter or some others.
True. I mean, like, okay, so but like to recap, your starting is from, I say, pre-K or kindergarten to secondary school lah. Is Kebangsaan.
Kebangsaan, yes.
Public lah, basically public school lah, and then from university size college onwards is private lah, but still within Malaysia lah.
Yes, within Malaysia. Yeah.
Not say that you did any twinning program and you studied abroad or anything like that, right?
Yeah, purely Malaysian guy, and purely I'm accept the education from Malaysia only.
Now, for my thing is slightly a bit unique case lah, because I went to school, public school, Kebangsaan school, from kindergarten until not really primary until primary school only. So I from kindergarten until standard 6 about, right? And then my secondary school I went abroad because my father used to be a diplomat, so we stayed abroad for a while, and then I went to an international school lah. Now to preface, I'm not super rich or anything like that, okay? Government pays for the school lah, thank God lah, because international school expensive gila, man.
I know.
So I am lucky enough that I was able to study in international school for a period of time. However, there was a drawback to it lah, because when I came back, I didn't have any SPM or anything. I have high school diploma, which is an international diploma, but getting like a student loan in Malaysia, at the time, priority goes to people with SPM rather than those without. So for me to apply for SPM, right, I would have lower chances compared to someone who has a SPM lah. And unfortunately, during the time when I wanted to continue my study here, I could not get a student loan because I wasn't able to bypass all these SPM people lah.
Oh, okay.
So unfortunately, I did not actually finish my higher education. I went to private education. I went to Help University, which is like quite considered atas lah sikit, right? The education, but I had to drop out because I can't afford to pay for it lor. So my educational journey pelik sikit, a bit weird. But the thing is, I did experience secondary school. I did experience Form 1 in Malaysia lah. Just one Form 1 only lah. I never managed to do SPM or anything like that. I did do UPSR, and I think I did quite badly in UPSR. But SPM I never did lah. So my perspective can be a bit uneven there lah. Okay. So this is why I think it will be an interesting education talk lah, because in comparison to you who had fully experienced the education system, to me who barely really only experienced half lah. Okay. And then for us to compare to Singapore, which both of us don't have any experience lah. Let's be real, we don't have experience. But I am aware enough of what is Singapore education system, how their approach is compared to Malaysia, and I think we can criticize Malaysia more fairly that way lah. Okay, so let's start. The first thing that you want to talk about in terms of like the education system, what's your first point there?
Okay, the first point, I realize the decentralized and centralized education.
Now, can you expand like what do you mean centralized and decentralized? And which side are you talking about? Like, is it Singapore centralized, Malaysia decentralized? Is it?
Yes. I don't know. Singapore is centralized.
Singapore centralized.
Yes. Why I say Singapore is centralized? Singapore centralized, their every education they are controlled by the MOE, Ministry of Educations. So they have a very proper from standards education like from primary, secondary to universities, and I mean polys, all that. You know poly, right?
From
Polytechnic.
From basically from kindergarten till higher education lah.
Yes.
We'll just say it like
They're
that lah.
standardized.
There is standard approach lah.
Standard approach. The government school, kebangsaan school, we call it.
National school lah basically.
National school. But in Malaysia, you can see here, you can see the Malaysia. Yeah, we have a standardized. We also have a MOE also, same thing.
Yes, but
We have a primary school, secondary school, and university, same thing.
right. Yes, yes.
But
However,
yes, in Malaysia, we got this Chinese independent school.
so you're talking about vernacular school lah.
Yes.
The language schools are basically.
You can see how Malaysia have this Chinese Chinese independent school is from secondary schools start onwards. They are purely using the language in the school in Chinese. They're very different.
Yes, yes, yes.
It's very different. Using Chinese, but in Malaysia, using in Chinese.
This is the one thing I want to question you, right? Because I'm not familiar with vernacular schools. Are they considered private or public schools?
It's a private school.
So technically, it's private lah.
Yes, private school.
So it's not really endorsed by the Ministry of Education in that sense. Like they won't get support in terms of like financing, budgeting, or anything like that.
This I'm not so sure, but the they have a what you call that? The Chinese education system. Education system is different. They have this 3 years junior. Junior secondary. I don't know. Junior and then the senior.
They have a system there lah.
Their system is actually follow Taiwan or China. I'm not sure lah.
But that's the big difference there. That is that Singapore doesn't have all this vernacular school. There is only just the public school and then there's private school.
Yes. Yeah, actually they have a Chinese school before, but they are really hapus in Singapore.
What year was that actually? You remember?
I'm not remember, but they are one to consider is consistent in one. In one Singapore they are using English as education. They are using the.
Before we jump on that, because you're already starting on the second point, I think you want to talk about, which is language. Let's just still focus on the system here between centralized and decentralized. Okay.
But in Malaysia, beside of the Chinese, Chinese school, we have this Islamic school as well.
Yes, that's true as well. But I guess religion school is considered a entity on its own lah, similar to vernacular school, right? Is it?
Yep.
And Singapore does not have any form of religion school, is it? Or is it there still exists?
Okay, I'm not pretty sure whether Singapore they have this Islamic school or not, but
I feel like there would be.
Actually, mostly the peoples, I say it's 95% Singaporeans, they go for government school.
Right, they will go public school
yes,
because
public school.
It is accessible. Is it free or is it cheap?
Government school.
Government school in Singapore.
It's free.
Free, right?
Same like Malaysia. Yes, free.
I mean, Malaysia is free to a certain extent. You still have to pay, I guess, like a yearly tuition fee, which is very low. I think like Malaysia, you still have to pay some form of...
but Islamic school is a private school as well, right?
Yes, I would consider religious school in Malaysia is a private institution. Because I could be wrong about this. There is no... MOE of Malaysia does not have like a government-sponsored religion school. I could be wrong there, but none that I'm aware of. And in Singapore, there's no such thing as that there's no such equivalent there, right? Now, now let's look at these two, the centralized and decentralized approach. What is the goodness of a centralized approach in Singapore there? Like, do you feel like there is what are the advantages and disadvantages in your personal opinion?
Okay, this is my personal opinions. The good is that standardize all the educations, so make everyone in Singapore fair enough to get the same educations. No matter you are in poor or rich, we are studying in the same school. But in Malay, the other thing is, the poor thing is, disadvantage it's very stress for everyone.
You consider like Singapore school is much more stressful, is it?
Yes, they're more stressed, and then they get the student bully something.
Because there's like you have no choice but to mix everyone there, and there could be like
yes,
a
because some
problem there, is
you
it?
see the people is got the I mean the rich people, and then the poor people is in the same school, this kind of thing. But in Malaysia, you can see maybe the rich people, they are studying in international school. This kind of things.
Yeah, I mean, like, here's the thing. Singapore has international school as well, right? But I feel like Singapore's international school is really catered towards expatriates there. And I don't know this is confirmed or not, but I rarely hear majority of Singaporeans opting to go for international school compared to their public school, right? For Singapore.
One thing is Singapore international school, not many international school compared to Malaysia lah. Not many as international school in Singapore, and then there is damn expensive.
I think like the only Singaporean that go to international school are
super
rich. We're talking crazy rich Asian style.
Super rich, those kind of people. Then like if let's say like in Malaysia, maybe the tuition fees in international school not then high compared with other country. But Malaysia considered as one country is the education is cheaper.
But public school in Singapore is still comparative to Malaysian school, right? In terms of like public lah. It's just, but private wise, it's still cheaper to go to international school or private school in Malaysia, is it?
Yes. Yeah.
So is that one of the advantages that you're going to approach for like Malaysia in terms of like decentralized approach? Like, what are the advantages and disadvantages of Malaysia for Singapore? You already say it's like there's a standardized everyone gets the same opportunity, but the opposite is that stressful,
bully, this kind of thing.
You wouldn't think like having a standardized approach means like losing identity?
Yes, losing identity. But in Malaysia, different is we are diversities culture. We are different. We are more build the persons. I mean, you can see
there's a stronger connection to the culture of what you want to learn lah.
The advantage in Malaysia, the benefits lah, in diversities in Malaysia, we can see people is from international school, some people is from local school, some people is from
Chinese school or religious school, or
many people is talking in different language. It's like the Chinese independent school. They are
clearly the melting pot approach lah, right?
Yes. This is the benefits.
But the disadvantage there is that I feel like, again, the strength is diversity, but the weakness is too separate already, right?
Yes. I mean the weakness.
The divide there lah. There's more divide there lah.
The people is very different because you're Chinese independent school and talking to you, maybe they're different in different language. Some people in Kebangsaan school, maybe you speak in Malay or English or whatever lah. But in independent school, they speak in Chinese. Mostly people speak in Chinese. They are Chinese school one.
do you feel like you experienced that before compared to now? Like I remember back in the day when I still went to school in public but like it doesn't feel like there was much of a divide between the different races in Malaysia. Like we still lepak together. You go mamak, you will see all three races lepak together, right? Like back in the day lah. Nowadays, for this generation, do you feel like there's more divide now? Do you see the divide, or do you feel the divide in Malaysia?
I can see the divide, especially is now the young generations. I don't know, maybe it's after many years, the politician, the people are using these tools to split out the races. And you can see even in Sarawak or Sabah, the other side, they still can, I mean, it's to more harmony than
like,
KL.
The thing is, right, people don't really consider Sarawak as like part of the wilayah approaches, right? Like, I don't know why here in like the wilayah or the West Malaysia, we are so hell-bent on making sure that the Chinese have their own Chinese thing, the Malay have their own Malay, Tamil, the Indians have their own Indian thing. Like we still like very separated there lah.
We can see this is maybe this education affected maybe the language is a border. I mean the way there's after the education, the language we are speaking.
Now okay, let's just end on point one, saying that I feel like okay, like your opinion, do you think the centralized approach is much better than Malaysia decentralized approach?
Because for me, centralized, because every view of point, I'm not absolutely
there's
agree 100% saying the centralized is good, but I can agree is 80% centralized is better than decentralized. But in the same time, decentralized, we are losing something, is losing your culture, losing some things like some things lah, is losing some things. But that one you have to put in back also.
Well, for me, it's like I do feel a centralized approach is much effective lah in building a
Effective, yes.
strong country. Because like you can see that in Indonesia as well, where they do have like a centralized approach towards their education there as well, ma. And regardless if you're Chinese Indonesian or like Indonesian or like whatever, everyone goes to the same school and everyone speak the same language. There is a centralized language there lah. And Singapore approach of adopting a centralized approach towards education ensures that everyone, regardless of race, religion, ethnicity, or whatever, gets the same path. When there's only one path to go forward, it's easier to control lah.
Yes.
Lack of better word, easier to control your population towards a certain destination. Maybe your destination is, we want to make Singapore the most financial hub. Easy to control your population to go there. But Malaysia decentralized approach. Each state have their own way of education, and then different races have their own approach to education, and different religion have their own approach to education. You cannot control all of this and put it as one way lah. We cannot reach the destination that we want. We want to say what the 2020 vision. How can we reach the same vision when we don't have the same approach there lah? And
True.
for me, the 80% over 20%, I would take the 80% good, even though it comes with the 20% bad lah. Because the in the long run, that would be much better in terms of uniting the country. And also, I feel like we kind of overplay the idea that having a unified country means losing your individual culture, right? Like, you went to Kebangsaan school, you went to a multinational school lah. Did you lose your sense of self as a Chinese?
Okay, for my school, my secondary school is a Kebangsaan school, right? So they actually, the secondary school that time, they allowed the Chinese to have their own, can study Mandarin in the school in the same time.
Yeah, okay.
But that one is not major. There is a subjective lah. You want to come to study in Chinese or don't want to study Chinese, it depends on the students.
Okay.
This is the freedom.
But I don't recall that having an option when I was schooling that time lah. So I feel I know that now Malaysia offers that elective course lah, right?
It's the options lah.
But again, I'm trying to ask that, did you lose your sense of self as a Chinese when you went to a national school in Malaysia?
No.
Right. I mean, like, there's no really danger of you losing. Like, you won't suddenly stop celebrating CNY, right? Or something like that, is it? And same goes for me. Like, I didn't immediately, like, stop going to the mosque when I still go.
But is the poor thing is the Kebangsaan school, some of my age lah, some of my friends, they cannot read the Chinese character. They are not even can speak Bahasa Mandarin. Some of them lah, because they are from Kebangsaan lah.
Let me ask you the same.
Do you speak dialect lah?
Do you think Malays know how to read Jawi or speak Arabic?
So then I just now you
but then again, like, that's the thing. Is that Malaysian culture, or is that like just like, I don't know? Because the thing is, right, what is considered Malay culture, what is considered Chinese culture, like learning the language is one thing, right? And you can do that anytime. There's no like restriction for you to learn the language, isn't it?
Yes, but some people are after 20, maybe they are lazy to learn the language. I don't know.
I guess so. But then now we can jump into the second point of your topic, the idea of language in education system, which I think like this is probably a minus point for Malaysia lah.
Yes. Do you think, sir? From my education background, primary school, I'm using Chinese, fully Chinese.
Okay.
Even the mathematics, whatever, we are using a Chinese for you. It's a man for teaching you how to study in school. I'm in Chinese, but after Kebangsaan school, is using a bahasa Malay.
But then at some point we also flip flop, right? We changed from bahasa to English to bahasa.
from Chinese, you divide times all that. You change to, the simple from mathematics. You change from mathematics lah. You're from Chinese. You want to convert
to a different language.
To bahasa. These transactions, you have to take time.
You
do believe it or not?
Learning a language is always hard lah.
You have to take time. In the secondary school. After secondary school, you go to the universities or
different language.
Different language. Yeah, sometimes you have to convert your bahasa to English. You think for my life, primary, secondary, and then university is very hard to convert and this and that. We are not very professionals in one language.
The thing is, you kind of like you know all, but you master none.
Yes.
Right?
I'm just only know the surface, all that.
Right. Whereas in Singapore, since the beginning, or since the new system, their approach is English is the official language,
Yes.
correct? But the remaining languages, I'm assuming, is optional, or is that still encouraged, like to learn? Let's say you are a Malay Singaporean. Do you still learn bahasa or?
The system is like that. Okay, you are Chinese, but in school we are teaching English. No matter you are in primary school, secondary school, or university, we are teaching in English. But you are Malay, you have the option to learn maybe one of both from bahasa. I'm Chinese, I have a book for for Chinese. I have you are Chinese, you have an option. You want to learn Chinese. It's one book, and you can learn for your own language. You are Chinese. Maybe you are Indians. Maybe you learn Tamil.
I see, but that's the thing, right? When we talk about that, when you have like English as the primary official language,
yes,
the opposition would say, well, you're losing your culture in the bahasa or in the Chinese or in the Tamil or Hindu or whatever the language there lah of your particular race, isn't it?
Yeah, because some students like me, some people is like, are very lazy to learn, especially Chinese. The Chinese character compared to English, right? The only English is the alphabets. But for Chinese, you see the character, all that, it's very difficult.
The Chinese character there.
If you're not in primary school in Chinese Chinese education background, you're hard to secondary, you pick up the Chinese immediately. It's very hard for people without the foundation and jump to the learn Chinese. But for English and bahasa, it doesn't matter because the alphabet things. Then you can learn, even you don't know the words, but you can pronounce the words. But in Chinese, it's hard.
For Malaysia, right? If we were to suddenly adopt English as the official language, do you think the resistance there will be very strong there?
Yes. You see, if everyone's okay, the first thing is it's like Singapore. The first thing we are using Singapore is using the business language. They're using English. Even the government is using English.
Yes.
No matter is what races you are, we are talking the same language. We are doing something in law or whatever, the black and white. Even so you're doing a business or whatever lah, you're using English. So this is the things is a common lah. Even whoever also is a common thing we are using English. Even the foreigners or expat using a common thing we're using English. But Malaysia is quite rojak, Some people is doing the business in Malaysia, they're using in Chinese. One time I going to some of the companies, even the computer using a Chinese. They're using a Chinese character for the computers. Well, if let's say some Malay colleague, how they're using your computers. If let's say for Indians, how they're using a computer. This is very messy.
But isn't that the free market? People can choose what they want. You have the freedom to choose, ma.
But you make it more messy, no? You see, it's messy, no? Then I'm the boss. You have to speak Chinese to me. You don't know speak Chinese, ah? Oh, I don't want to. How come Malaysia got this kind of attitudes, one?
I mean, you see the employment here, right? Must be able to speak Chinese or something like that, right? And that divide makes it harder for us to be unified there, right?
Yeah, it's very hard people to communications.
But when you choose to say select English as the main language, the strong opposition is you will lose your culture there, ma, regardless of Malay or Chinese. Because like I'm sure a lot of Chinese people are saying, oh, you don't want to send our kids to this national school because you force them to read Bahasa, but and force them to ignore Chinese, huh? That's like losing the culture of Chinese there. Like how many stories have you heard of people saying like, oh, whenever I go for a family gathering, the grandmother or the auntie is always disappointed that cannot speak Chinese, or what, like all this elder people will say, oh, wow, oh, banana don't know how to speak Chinese. Isn't the idea of banana is like a joke or insult to the Chinese who can't speak Chinese, huh? And even for Malays as well, there's the term of like what, brown banana or something like that,
Brown banana.
or brown coconut or some shit like that. Like, you are a Malay but you can't speak Bahasa. It's an insult for people who cannot speak the language and makes them as if like less than the Malaysian that they are.
For your own language, if let's say we should keep our language. We should keep our own language, especially if you are Chinese, you have to speak Chinese. If you are Malay, you have to speak Malay. But in sense of we are doing the educations and the common way, we're talking to some strangers or whatever, we're using a common thing to communicate with someone. It is maybe different with you, with different races. We are using a same common language. We call it English, right? We are not using in Malaysia, maybe we're using a common language, Bahasa, I don't know. Whatever in Malaysia, we're using a Bahasa as a common language. No matter you are Chinese or Indians, or you even expect, you have to speak Bahasa as a language, is a common language in Malaysia. Even the law and regulation, you can see, you have to change to Malay. Even you can see the highway, you're not using any English anymore. Exit, you change to keluar. Don't you exit as a word? So which means everyone's the common language here. You are doing a business, all the law and regulation, you change to Bahasa. This one makes sense. Okay, you live in Malaysia, it makes sense. But here it's rojak. You make black and white. Yeah, seriously, they come in English. You go and do a business thing. Yeah, the thing is coming in English. You're not coming in Bahasa. Not coming. Even you in the shopping mall, you can see, oh, exit. You're not using keluar. But this thing, we don't have any common language between the races. If let's say today you go to China, you speak in Chinese, what? You speak English, sorry, 我不可以讲英语. Right.
Oh, you so anti
No,
vernacular, bro.
The thing is, you have to make something is in common. In Malaysia, you not make the language in commons, right? Rojak a lot. Then people I don't have any directions. People who are Chinese schools, Chinese. Then the people is well, I'm from Chinese English education background. And then I speak. Then it's a rojak thing. So in Malaysia, it's like that, no?
It is a bit messy, lah. Right?
Yes, it's messy.
It's messy, right? But the thing is, right, I used to be quite a proponent of vernacular school because I feel like enforcing, let's say, Bahasa to everyone is a bit I feel like it's a bit too much lah, to enforce the culture towards other races where we are such a diverse country, diverse makeup of races, that it's necessary for them to maintain their culture despite having a unified culture there lah.
Okay. The using as a language, I'm saying language, I'm not biased in the one races. You are Malay because we are in here Malaysia. We have to find a one common language to all Malaysian, no matter it's Bahasa or English or maybe Chinese.
Okay, but then does that approach means like we should you know, take away the idea of vernacular school, take away the idea of religion school, and just purely have a one solution towards education?
Yes. Yeah, come back to the first
single
point.
state
Centralized.
centralized approach, is it? But I feel like Malaysia will be very resistant to that because we have too divisive in terms of like education there lah. Right? The thing is, right, language is very hard to find a solution in Malaysia.
Okay, see, Wawasan 2020 2020. How many versions we have? Okay, Chinese they say, oh, this one what 宏源2020什么 what the heck is that? What do you know? What things? Wawasan 2020 got English version. Wawasan 2020. No, right?
Vision 2020 lah.
Oh, Vision 20. Can see So your Vision 2020 and my 宏源2020 different. Already different what?
But I mean, isn't that the unique thing about Malaysia, that we can have that multiple language?
Don't know lah.
The thing is, right, if we want to have a centralized language, I think we still need to make it in force for everyone to learn the secondary language of their culture lah.
Actually, we can do a bilingual right? Bilinguals, like I'm the Chinese, I can speak. I can speak English. I can speak
Bahasa.
Actually,
we should approach trilingual.
Trilingual.
Actually, that's kind of unfair. Also, like it shouldn't be trilingual because Tamil or
Then this is maybe a bias lah. Use English as a common communication way. Then we are using Bahasa. If let's say you are Malay, then you use Bahasa. Then you are bilingual. Then I'm using Chinese and English, I'm the bilingual. When we join together, we speak to each other. We are using the common language, like we are speaking English.
So English is the main, but your native language is your nila.
Yeah.
Secondary, your
mother
bilingual.
tongue mother tongue
Similar to how Singapore does it, basically, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
then the student will less one language to study, no?
That's true. I mean, having English as your primary focus makes it much more easier to communicate internationally lah. It's a global language. I hate to admit it. It's basically like math lah. English is like math. Everyone speak it at this point, right? So it is a necessary approach lah. But I still believe that Malaysia it's too diverse to let go that kind of mentality of having its own vernacular school and all these like things lah. In terms of the language, right? We cannot find a solution unless someone makes the hard decision of saying, okay, done, this is this, no more. Like, no one can choose anything anymore. Do you think there will be a leader that can do that? Okay,
it's very hard.
It is hard to say lah. But moving on to the next point, I feel like the English it's hard for us to decide lah, right?
Hard to decide.
Okay, so that's
even you see in you think the Chinese independent school, the group of people, they also say, wow, this Chinese we are Chinese, we are more speak in Chinese, those kind of Kung Fu whatever confusions this whole thing. They are trying to approach the Chinese education, the system to the next generation people. You see, it's very deep. The border is there, you know. The what you call it, the obstacles. You can see a lot of obstacles. Not even or just everyone push to English. Not all the Chinese also agree.
True. There will be opposition there lah.
Yes.
But the thing is like, who will be strong enough to say like, I don't care what opposition say, we must go forward with just the one vision there.
Who can do that?
Anwar.
Again.
You know who? You want who?
This is really, really difficult.
Najib come back.
Najib.
Okay, but those are the 2 points. I feel like those are the 2 main points lah.
The main point lah.
Like, the rest is, you say what other thing you want to focus on in terms of the education in Malaysia there? The difference between the system there.
The basic infrastructures lah. Our basic infrastructure compared to Singapore's the libraries and all that. You see, I actually is not. I have nothing to compare. This is not nothing to compare already. You can see
Malaysia is not bad.
the visible thing already. You can see how good our.
But I feel like that's because like we've diversified our market for education too much, isn't it? Because like you have too many choices already, and for the government to focus on which part to improve is like I think like they cannot find on a single simple decision compared to Singapore, where it's like, okay, Ministry of Education, the funding for education, we have only one system to focus on, the public education. That's it.
Yes.
No need to worry other things. Right. In Malaysia, okay, we have public education, but also there's a private in terms of like vernacular schools, religious schools, and then you need to see that.
Yeah, how to focus? If let's say in the library, if let's say one building, how many books I want to put the public and how many percent we are divide the percentage, then the student getting a lot knowledge with lesser. If let's say for public school lah.
But also the weird thing about like infrastructure there, right? I don't know about this one, but does Singapore allow homeschool?
What this?
Because in Malaysia it's allowed.
Now it's allowed a lot of homeschool Malaysia.
In Malaysia it's allowed homeschool, which I find very troublesome because homeschooling, unless there's a standardized body to monitor it, what you learn at home can be very wrong one. You look at America and their homeschooling approach, it's very terrible.
But this is not our discussion today actually. But
no, but education as an umbrella in Malaysia, we should. The fact that we have that is also troubling already. You shouldn't be allowing homeschool.
You see, Malaysia's got a lot of international school, right?
Yeah.
The IGCSE. How come the Malaysian not take the SPM is come to take the IGCSE? Not stronger our SPM is come to. I mean, even some of the Malaysians, the Chinese, send the kids, the children to the international school and get the IGCSE, then go for the better education. How come they are not believe the Malaysia educations? The Malaysia education is suck.
Oh, bro, you're talking like you are in the one, right? Yeah, already. We're really strong about the education already.
Yeah, you see, right?
I mean, look, the faith in Malaysian education system is so bad right now because it's been messy ever since. There's no reformasi there lah. In terms of the education approach, it's still considered quite bad lah to the extent.
But for us, our generation is like my generation. Is that you can see still a lot of people going to this stick as SPM. It's no IGCS. This such very popular terms of name in Malaysia at the time. Even I also know like some of people like you go to international school, not many, right?
But like that's
for my percentage is not many people is go for international school for my time.
These are the exception, not the norm. The norm should be like everyone shouldn't be afraid to go to public school in Malaysia, right?
Yeah.
The idea is that you shouldn't have to decide between sending your kid to a government sponsored school to homeschooling being better. That shouldn't be the case, isn't it? I mean, we come to that point. I don't know how to say it. I mean, education is not an easy solve. It's not an easy problem.
Yeah.
Even though it can be easy if one person just say, okay, no more. Close everything. And then we just make it a centralized approach.
I really found out Malaysia is really, really very... because a lot of races and a lot of different things, the diversity is there. Next time you can see the people's, maybe next generations, you can see the Malaysian, you can see the Malaysian very different. Or some Malaysians say, hey, they are speaking in Chinese. They're not. Okay, this is a very worst thing. I got some independent school, Chinese independent school. They are also don't know what is kad pengenalan.
Okay, that's a bit too much lah.
You know, it was I see kad identities ma. So what is a parcels, bro? And maybe my friends listen to me this show, you know. Fuck man. I don't know what is called kad pengenalan. Kad pengenalan is your IC, you know. You can see from your
that
IC.
Is kind of scary to think. Something so basic
you
that
are
you don't
holding,
even know, right?
Bro, you're holding Malaysia IC because you are Malaysians.
But if we look at it as Singaporean, okay? If this is a Singaporean who doesn't know Bahasa, would we shame that Singaporean for not knowing kad pengenalan?
No, because they're using the language is English,
They standardize, is it?
standardized, ma.
Because no one would ever use Kad Pengalan, is it?
But this is very weird things. The national song is still Bahasa ma, in Singapore. But I don't know whether they can sing or not.
I mean, maybe they will have like a bit of a Ang Moh accent, is it, when you speak Bahasa?
But genting like that, no?
Or like you will hear it very awkward for them to speak Bahasa, is it?
Don't know.
I do feel like there would be more Malay or Malay in Singapore who has a weird time.
But I have some colleague
Bahasa.
in Singapore. I got some colleagues, some friends like in Singapore. When I met them, they are automatically speak English with me. They are not speaking Bahasa.
Because English is the only thing they know.
Actually, I try to speak Bahasa with them.
And
How
they
come
don't
you
know.
speak? How come you speak Bahasa with me? They will say they keep saying English with me lah. It's very common, really. But they speak in with their parents and their cousin or whatever, the brothers. They speak in Bahasa also.
Is that the better outcome, you think, to have that kind of society in Malaysia?
I feel like you got the unity there lah.
But the thing I find very funny, you know what? We have all this vernacular school. In the end, everyone still speak English one. At least, as I can tell from like city areas, most people speak English one. Rarely, maybe I don't know. Maybe it's just my surroundings. I think like more of the people I talk to speak English rather than.
You mean in KL?
Yeah.
Maybe
Maybe it's just the area I'm at lah. Too much Ang Moh already.
it's because maybe you work in the MNC companies lah, and I mean
Maybe,
MNC company usually they are using English.
But the thing is, despite me, I would say honestly, I would say like I am more proficient in speaking English than I am Bahasa.
lah.
That doesn't mean I'm completely oblivious to Bahasa.
You speak in your brother. You speak Bahasa, right?
No, English.
English also.
Yes. I only talk Bahasa to my extended family actually.
Your
Grandparents, uncle, auntie, all this. I prefer to speak Bahasa to them lah.
that you speak English to them and say, "Oh, this fella."
Not really. They want to talk English to me. Right? They talk to English to me, but I still prefer talking Bahasa to them.
Oh.
Which is very weird lah for me, because like I still believe there is a need to maintain that kind of like identity lah. Although I wouldn't like attack someone who doesn't speak it. Okay? And the thing with me is, despite that, I also want to learn other languages as well. I also try to pick up a bit of Chinese as much as I can lah. And I try to learn a bit of Mandarin. I try to speak
Japanese.
Japanese is as a hobby lah, but I try to speak Tamil or Hindi or something like that, because you know it's the multicultural that makes us very unique, and we shouldn't be afraid to learn as much as we can. Instead of just saying, "Oh, this is Chinese school, we just focus on Chinese, don't need to learn Bahasa." It kind of defeats the purpose of our strength there, you know, right? Don't know lah. Maybe that's just me lah. I personally enjoy language and learning different languages.
Yeah. I enjoy learning some others like foreign language. Yeah, it's very enjoyable because you know
Like-
from the language you know the culture.
I don't know why it's like in Malaysia, it's like there is a fear of multiple languages.
I still believe lah. In Malaysia, you have your mother tongue, and then you have to find one common language.
The common tongue,
common tongues for all Malaysian. Yes, Malaysian. What's the thing to make Malaysian got the same things?
The
You
thing
get
is,
the
I
meaning.
feel like it's
You are Malaysian, we are Malaysian, but you Malay and Chinese, we are want to find the things we are same because we are Malaysian. Because if let's say today I'm Chinese, the PRCs, then very different. Even one single bahasa I cannot speak. And then we are education is different. Because we are same thing, we are from Kebangsaan school, we are play the goli, play the goli together and do the same things and do the stupid thing in the school in the Kebangsaans together and play football. And maybe the Chinese student they play basketball or something. We are the common thing there. We are Malaysian, we are one family.
I think that's the one key obstacle there is the fact that we are called Malaysia.
Yeah, if let's say
No, here's the thing. I think like a lot of people in Malaysia
Mm.
are reluctant to accept Malay or Bahasa Malaysia because it feels like it's specified towards Malay people. Like it feels exclusive. When you say Malaysia is Malay, then you think like Mahathir. Oh, in order to be Malaysian, you have to be Malay and you have to adopt Malay culture and all this. And then people will conflate Malay culture to Muslim culture and everything like that.
Because we oh yeah lah.
There is that fear, right? Like you are Chinese, and then we say, oh, Malaysia, you must speak Malay. Like you must speak and then you feel like you don't feel like you are Malaysian. No, you feel like you need to become a Malay in order to be accepted as Malaysian or something like that. It's this is like racial identity lah.
Yeah.
Right, this is a point of racial identity,
Yes,
which
yes.
is can be confusing for some because like, I do think like people will feel like their identity is disrupted when they're forced to adopt another race's identity lah, and we make the country the identity of one race
Yes.
when we shouldn't be worried. I feel like if Malaysia changed the name to a different name, like not Malaysia, or maybe like Unasia or something like that.
Borneo.
Or Borneo or something like
Borneo.
that. Because then if it's Borneo, then people won't be afraid to say, oh, let's learn Bahasa. Not
Yes.
Bahasa Malay, but Bahasa Borneo. Bahasa Borneo is like a unity language for all. Then people won't be afraid.
No, it's let's say in Malaysia, not Malaysia. If let's say no, we don't have this country called Malaysia lah. We have this country called Borneo, but we are learning Bahasa.
Yes, Bahasa.
Bahasa Malay.
Not Bahasa Malay. It would be Bahasa Borneo because then you wouldn't have to worry. Bahasa Malay, or people think, oh, it's Malay, Malay race, ma.
I got
right.
you.
You get what I mean, right?
Mm.
When you say Bahasa Borneo, they say, oh, Bahasa Borneo. Borneo can be anyone. Same like Indonesia. Bahasa Indonesia can be anyone because Indonesians is not necessarily just brown skin, ma. They are Chinese, Indonesian, all this, right? And even as an Indonesian, it don't necessarily mean that you are Muslim. You could be a Buddhist or something like that. So there is no distinction there.
Yes, the common sense, we can find the commons between Indonesia and Indonesia, even your different races.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I feel like Malaysia is still, we want that distinction. Because I do admit that distinction makes us very unique, but it also weakens us lah.
But these things, like, you see, from my Chinese, some of my Chinese friends, they are proud. They're proud. It's not because Malaysia. They're proud because China. I can see something is like, are you Chinese? Yes, your race is Chinese, but you are Malaysians. You can say you are Malaysian. You show up your IC. Today your IC is Chinese or you are PRC.
But that's the thing.
Okay.
People would, I would say your friend would probably be hesitant to say he's Malaysian because he or she is Malaysian, because there is the Malay. It means you basically like, oh, I give up my identity to become a Malaysian, to follow the Malay way lah. I feel like that it would be a fear that they have.
Yeah, sometimes it's like, yeah.
And this I think comes from the idea of education there, how you implement that. Because if you come from a vernacular school, from Chinese school, you wouldn't feel that sense of patriotic towards the Malaysia culture lah. Because you would still want to defend your Chinese or your Indian or something like that.
Yeah.
I did. Wow. Education too.
Many things talk, right?
And in comparison to Singapore, I feel like there would be people going against it when it was starting, right?
They don't have this called Bahasa Singapore.
That's right.
Bahasa Singapore, right?
But then they just call it Bahasa, isn't it?
Yeah. Bahasa Malay lah. They are calling Malay.
Bahasa Melayu, is it?
Melayu lah.
Really?
Oh, listen.
Because I feel like, I don't know, man. I feel like just saying Bahasa would be better, right? Isn't it?
Their national language, they have two language. One is actually national language is Bahasa, means Bahasa Malay lah. And then the business language
is English.
But the English they are putting in the mainstream. Yeah, the way they are doing lah.
But I think Singapore still have a strong culture of Chinese speakers as well, right? So despite having just English as the official language, there is still a strong culture of speaking Chinese, speaking Bahasa, and speaking Hindi or anything like that, right?
um, they have a people who are bilingual ma. They can speak their own language.
Do you feel like that should be the case for Malaysia? We should strive to become like that. I know it seems like we just the education now just to boil down is about language lah. Really, isn't it?
But you see,
even though the infrastructure, yes, there's disparity there.
but
stuff like
after you see after 60 years, we are split out two country. You can see the result. Which country are doing
Better.
better lah. You can see from the result. I know maybe the result here, we cannot judge Malaysia is very bad or Singapore is good, but you can see that today the result,
The performance,
performance, which country the performance is better.
Well, at least we still have resources in Malaysia.
The one thing is Malaysia is still full.
We got land, bro.
Full
We
resources.
still got land.
We are still compete.
We got land, bro. But Singapore got only a small island only.
Okay, I think next topic we go to for these resources actually is very important issues.
Well, no, that could be a touchy topic lah. But yeah, I think that's all we can talk about for today's education. We actually went quite long for this one. Very strong, very hot topic. This
Yeah, hot
education.
topic.
But I don't think we came to any reasonable conclusion at all.
Or maybe you guys want us to talk more about the education. Maybe you can write down your comments, and then maybe we can have a next episode we discuss on education. Actually, I'm very
I
excited.
feel like we're just scratching the surface of what is the education, and I think we mostly focus on primary, secondary education. We haven't gone to higher education
Yes, higher education.
with the idea of quotas,
the
the
personal,
racial quota, and all this
the
globalization.
globalizations. These all the issues we'll touch.
So if that's all for today, and if you guys enjoyed what you heard today, please share, like, subscribe as always. Share what is your opinion. What do you think? Malaysian education, Singapore education. How's the difference? What's better? I want to say who's better. I feel like this is a bit dangerous. But what is your opinion? What is your experiences when it comes to education between these two countries? And if you're not from Malaysia or Singapore, how do you think our education system compared to your country? Let us know. We love to hear from you guys. And until the next episode, goodbye.